All right, folks, we are back here on the Yishai Fleisher Show. We have a special guest today, which I'm really excited about. I've wanted to have her on the show for a long time. Fleur Hassan is the deputy mayor of Jerusalem, which is like the greatest job in the world, right? You got Yerushalayim, the greatest city in the world, and you got the greatest job to be the mayor or deputy mayor. And we just had the mayor of Jerusalem, Moshe Leon, in Hebron, and now we have Fleur with us on the show today. And Fleur is an Israeli politician and policymaker. She's actually, as at least says this on Wikipedia, the only British citizen to have a high office here in Israel. We'll see if that's true or not. She's in charge of foreign relations, international economic development, and tourism. She's also the co-founder and founding member of UAE Israel Business Council. So the UAE Israel thing, the whole Abraham Accords, Fleur is on that as well. Fleur, shalom and welcome to the show. How are you?
Wonderful being here, Yishai. I'm glad we got to do this finally.
So do you have the greatest job in the world or not?
You know what? Yes, but there are days when it's really tough job because, Jerusalem is probably the most complicated city in the world. But it's really, I pinch myself some mornings and I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? That 3,000-year-old capital city of our people. And I get to somehow represent it and work for it. So yeah, I'm thrilled most of the time.
That's right. Well, the times that you're not thrilled, that's when you know it's work. That's what
Exactly.
I always tell them. That's right. That's when you know you're actually like being paid to do a job.
Exactly.
Fleur, you actually come from a political family. Your sister, I think, is a what is she exactly?
She's a member of parliament of the Gibraltar parliament.
Right, Gibraltar. And your father was the mayor of Gibraltar for a very long time. Is that right?
The first mayor and then the first chief minister, which is like prime minister.
For like a long time, though. Like how many years was he in this position?
They think Bibi's been in power for long.
How long was he in power altogether, your father?
Well, overall, about 30, 40 years.
Now Gibraltar is, I might have flown over Gibraltar. I think I landed in Spain one time, and of course in America we have like a bank called Prudential, and it's got like the the big symbol of the rock. I've seen it on James Bond films, but like,
Yes.
What's it like growing up in Gibraltar? What's that like?
It's very kind of kibbutzzy in a way. It's like a small town where everybody really knows it. If you're Jewish, everybody knows you, and they know your business. If you, and Jews and non-Jews and Muslims and Christians live in real coexistence and peace. And this is something that really informs my work every day, that I know what it can be like when people just get along. And so, so the Jews, everybody knows everybody's business, and the non-Jews practically know everything as well, and everybody knows everything about each other. So it's like one big kibbutz, but it's also very kind people, very kind of warm people, very Mediterranean people, and there's never been, no real anti-Semitism. Look, imagine my father was a very proud Jew, observant Jew, who got elected 8 times, and everybody knew who he was, and everybody knew he was Jewish. And I think it takes a special town, right at the beginning of last century, after the Second World War, to elect a Jewish head of state again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. How are the beaches in Gibraltar? Is it also like good water there?
Not great. It's like European beaches, like brown. They're not like beautiful Herzliya and Neharia beaches or Caribbean beaches. No, it's not that. But it's a beautiful place, very Mediterranean. People are lovely. The food is great. The Jewish community is lovely. We have beautiful synagogues, old Spanish, Portuguese, Moroccan synagogues. We have wonderful customs. It's a wonderful community that's been there for hundreds of years.
So I guess that growing up in a place that is multi-ethnic, and what are the ethnicities there? There's Spanish, there's British people. What else is there?
There's Indians. There's Moroccan Muslims. Yeah, that's about it. Muslims, Indians, Catholics. The Christians are mainly Catholic. Jews, and it's really wonderful. I have to say, it's a very, very warm, welcoming place. If you go to shul on Shabbat and somebody notices you're a new face, you'll get about 4 invitations for Shabbat lunch. That's the type of place that it is.
That's good. That's really fun. So coming from a multi-ethnic type place, multi-religious, multi-ethnic place, and also coming from a political family, I have noticed that people that come from political families oftentimes do well in politics the next generation because they have it in their blood. They see what it's really like. And I wanted to ask you, like, how much of growing up in your father's house, I guess you and your sister both became, are in politics.
Yeah.
And I don't like the word politics, though, by the way. I like the word leadership. I'm not
Yeah.
always...
Well, you know what, Yishai? I wish every politician was a leader. Unfortunately, they're not. But yeah, I know what you mean. Politics has become an ugly word. Isn't that sad? Well, look, I do think that I'll tell you this. My father and mother would never kind of pushed us. There was no expectation. In fact, on the contrary, they were like, it's such a sacrificed life, Why would you want to go into this? I don't think, I think they weren't encouraging particularly. So we're certainly not here because there was any pressure from the family, the very opposite. But I do think that politics is something which is very alien to a lot of people. And when they look at it from the outside, they see such a hostile environment, such a snake pit. And I'm not saying it's not. But when you grow up in it, it's what you know. It's what you know. That's why children of doctors sometimes become doctors and children of lawyers sometimes become lawyers, because it's what you know. And so I've seen very ugly side of politics growing up, but I've also seen a very beautiful side of leadership, of my father helping people, advancing his society, being loved for the work that he did. And so helping people all time of the day or night, saving lives, literally. And so I've seen, along with the ugly, I've seen also the very beautiful side of stepping up to the plate and taking a leadership role and taking responsibility, assuming responsibility for your people or for your community. And so I guess that is a very big part of it, because if I didn't know that, I'm not sure I would have thought to go into it. It wouldn't have even been maybe on my radar, in my world, in my ecosystem. And so the fact that it was meant that it was, when the opportunity presented itself, I kind of jumped at the chance.
So now I don't want to go through the whole history, but you went through a few different political parties. You were with Zev Elkin. Zev Elkin also, right? Didn't you?
Well,
you started with...
was in the Likud at the time. What was I going to do? I'm a member of the Likud party. I've never been part of any.
Oh, we lost your volume a little bit there. One second, Fleur. We don't... There you go. You're back. Go ahead.
Hear me? Sorry.
Yeah,
I said I've never been part of any other national party except for the Likud. But when I started my political career, I started in a local political party called the Yerushalmim at the time. They were not a national party. They were a local party. And so I started off with them. I went as number 2 of Zev Elkin when he ran for mayor. He didn't win, but I got my seat. And then I was, I guess, lucky enough to back the right horse in the second round, which was Moshe Leon, who I very much love, admire, and work closely with. And when he won, as I'd supported him, he said, well, what do you want? I said, I want to do foreign relations for the city of Jerusalem, which is what you do for Hebron, Yishai.
That's right.
And I know Jerusalem is a city that is dear to so many countries and so many peoples, not just, of course, the Jewish people, which is the heart and soul of our people, but it's dear and close to so many other religions, around the world, and so many other cities around the world, that I wanted to be, and I wanted to have that privilege to represent my city in foreign bodies, sometimes fighting and sometimes celebrating. But I wanted to be that person representing the heart and soul of the Jewish people, our capital city, for 3,000 years, Jerusalem.
Usually there's a lot of tourists in Jerusalem. There's a lot of Asians and Italians and Catholics coming to the Catholic sites, and all kinds of Asian folks and Russian folks, people from all over the world coming for their religion, their thing, coming to see Jerusalem for the first time. Israel was peaking at 4.1 million tourists a year.
Yeah.
By the way, just in parentheses, I like to remind people that doesn't come close to Turkey's 51 or 52 million visitors.
Isha, it's so funny you say that, because I tell you, it's very funny you say that, because everybody gives themselves a big slap on the back. All these government people congratulate themselves for the 4.1, let's say 5 million tourists a year. And I remind them that I come from a little place called Gibraltar, tiny place at the bottom of Spain, opposite Morocco. You know how many tourists we get in Gibraltar?
No, I don't know.
10 to 12 million. And so I say,
That's
yes,
shocking.
it's shocking. The Holy
That's
Land
shocking.
versus Gibraltar. Now, of course, a lot of the tourists are coming in from Spain, and Spain is a big tourism country. Still, I hate it when these, and I hate to say this, men, but there's all these men in government who are giving themselves prizes. For what? Women are so much more self-critical. If it was me, I'd be like, why aren't we on 10 million? But everybody's giving themselves prizes for these 4 million. And I say, guys, we're not even close.
But by the way, just so you know, like there's a pasuk, a verse about Leah, and it says, "Vatere kisnuahi." She saw that she was hated, or disliked, or disfavored, but it never says that Yaakov disliked her. So I saw one of the commentators say, Leah, she's like a righteous person, and in what you explained, like women do, she's self-critical. She saw that she was a person who's always hating herself, in the sense that she was always challenging herself, wanted more, wanted something better, was not satisfied with everything, was not patting herself on the back, and that's why God, gave her the children that she had. In any case, I digress. You're totally right. We love to pat ourselves on the back. It's something with the Hasbara way. We did the same thing also recently with the vaccines, with so much pride that we were the first, that we got the most. I tell people push it down a little bit, keep it a little bit quieter. You got the medicine, good. What are you so proud that you have more medicine than other people? It doesn't look good to anybody. People don't like that. But in any case, I was saying originally that we usually have a lot of tourists right now. The tourists are internal. We don't have it's on the one hand, it's by the way been a very special year because you could go to the old city and there's not the throngs, there's not all these folks. But for you, in your position as also in charge of tourism, what's Jerusalem been like without its tourists?
It's been a really rough year because look, we figure out that about 30% of the income of the city is coming from foreign tourism. And just to give you an idea of numbers.
Say that again, how much?
About 30%.
Wow.
We're talking about, listen, not just hotels. Hotels are the biggest employers in the city. Okay. We also have all the cafes and the restaurants.
Sure.
And all the shops and all the arts and crafts. There's so much in Jerusalem which is connected to the foreign tourism that you can't separate that from regular small business life because it's so intertwined. The success is normally about the foreign tourists that come to the city. And just to give you an idea, Jerusalem has 80% normally, 80% foreign tourism as opposed to 20% internal tourism, local tourism. Eilat, for example, is the opposite. 80% local tourism and 20% foreign tourism.
Right.
And so it was a catastrophe. So what we did last summer was we did a big campaign. I did this with Rav Rafi Peretz, who is still the Jerusalem Affairs Minister. And we did a very big campaign around Israel, saying to people, you don't need to go to Chul, you don't need to go outside of Israel, come to Jerusalem.
Right. And then you had posters that said, Achi Chul Ba'aretz.
So this was my concept, and I was very criticized for this, because people are like, how can you say we're Chul? I said, guys, this is not a principled sentence. This is a marketing sentence. Right. The 4 million Israelis that leave the country every summer to go to Europe and Rome and Prague and this and that, I want them to think, hey, we have something better right here. Right. We are more exotic than anywhere else.
That's right.
That was the concept. It worked. But people were like, "Oh, what are you saying?"
I understood. I also saw people that. Yeah, I understood it. I definitely understood it, and I also know just simply from my experience with the other Israel, with the Israel that I do Army Reserves with, the Tel Aviv Israel.
Exactly.
That in their mind, they actually tell me. I have heard it said before. They're like, when I go to Yerushalayim, it's like I'm going to Chutz La'aretz, and they don't mean that derisively. They mean that it's just a different.
Exotic.
Yeah, it's exotic.
It's exotic. And and we have, you have Roman ruins here. People don't get that. and you have so many layers and layers and layers of history. You have 5-6 European capitals in one place here.
That's right.
And that was the concept to me. The concept was tell those exactly that other Israel that you and I are less a part of, the Israel that is secular, disconnected to that kind of the heritage part of our tourism, and say, look what we have here. And it worked. Every weekend During the week, we were full 60, 70% a lot. The
Mm-hmm.
weekends, we were 70 upwards percent. Every weekend was full here. So the campaign actually worked. And then we were going to into a Selichot campaign, and then the second lockdown came. So we did our best in what we could do. We did something very unique, which was buy product. We bought vouchers for tour guides so that tour guides could have some oxygen, some income coming in. We bought entrances to tourist sites. And what we did was that anybody who came for a weekend or for one night to Jerusalem, they got an envelope with tickets for things, so that not only we would be able to get the economy going, that people would have an incentive to come here as opposed to go somewhere else.
That's
so that
fabulous.
campaign worked very well. Listen, you can't go close to the foreign tourism, but it worked. We've done a lot of online stuff to keep the Jerusalem content pumping around the world with our evangelical friends, etc. I'm very, very much into that, and I've been producing a lot of content for our friends from abroad, and just keeping Jerusalem, our name, our pictures, our visuals, in the in the conversations from around the world for the people who are dying to come back. And so, really, it's Jerusalem without its tourists is really a very depressing thing to see. But we're hoping that it'll be now less time until everybody is able to come back.
And absence makes the heart grow fonder. So people will be yearning to come to Jerusalem, and we hope to see that 4 million ceiling break. There's just a few more things. I know we have a limited time, so just quickly a few more things. You've also been one of the people spearheading the relationship with the UAE and our new friends under the Abraham Accords. That's such an exciting project.
Oh,
it's so exciting. And you've also pioneered a women's face to the Abraham Accords. And I wanted to ask you about that. You've been over there. You've been treated, welcomed very warmly.
Yes.
And there really is a sense that this piece, as opposed to other pieces like with Jordan and with Egypt, is warm. It's exciting. We're in a closer wavelength in terms of how we want to see the future of the Middle East. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with the UAE.
So absolutely. It's funny because for about a year and a half, I was in deep conversations with our mutual friends, R.A. Lightstone and Ambassador Friedman, all about, I didn't realize, they knew, of course, but I didn't, that peace was going to be signed so quickly. But we were definitely talking about mutual projects between Israel and the UAE. Of course, my angle is always Jerusalem, and how we can, do under the radar normalization. A good friend of mine, my co-founder, Dorian Barak, has been doing business in the Gulf. He's an American Israeli for many, many years. And he's been telling me for ages, Fleur, this is the new frontier for Israel. The Gulf. This is a moment to become a regional partner. And so we already in June set up this business council, kind of very under the radar, low key. The next thing we know, the announcement comes, and we just jumped headfirst. We set up an online platform, which today has created a community of 4,000 Emiratis and Israelis, almost equal amounts, which is incredible. And what we wanted to do, we felt that we needed to create, peace is signed on the top, but peace is made from the bottom up. Mm-hmm. And what we wanted to do was provide that platform for people to talk to each other, do business together, because through business, you get to know each other's cultures, you build trust. And so we created this online platform. We went out there, we met such warm people. Yeah, I felt so much at home. And look, I also have the extra thing that I'm a Sephardi Jew. And I think, and this is what, I always try and say to our friends in the States, when they try and portray the Palestinian-Israeli conflict as, white against black. There are Jews that are ethnic. There are Jews. My mother's from Morocco. My husband's family are from Iraq. We are Jews of this region. And so when I went there, apart from the fact that my name is such an Arab name, I felt at home. They felt I was one of them. We have such cultural similarities. There's way more that unites us than what divides us. And they were so warm and willing and open. Their hearts were open to this peace. They were curious about each other. Everybody's asking me about Judaism. We're asking them about their customs, about their family customs, about their religious customs. And so this really has been one of the most formative, one of the most significant experiences of my life. And I'm so happy that I was able to be part of something so positive and forward thinking for our country.
Right, and for the region, and okay, so now let's get to the last part of the conversation. Um, let's just talk about politics for a second. Do you
Yeah.
think that the Abraham's Accords are going to hold up under the stress of a different type of American administration who may not be as favorable to that? To that, I mean, they're not against it maybe so far, but not the same kind of push forward. Maybe back to the old idea that Kerry said a few times, which is that
No.
there's no peace in the Middle East without solving the Palestinian problem. Like, are we going to go back to that, or are these relationships going to hold?
Well, first of all, Kerry has been proven wrong, so there's no going back. The proof is that we have peace for peace, which is what Netanyahu talks about, and he's 100% right. Look, I think I'm a positive person in general. So I like to look at the positive. And I see a few things that I want to mention. A, that Biden is not Obama. Thank God. And he's certainly less kind of ideological about what he thought was correct and right, or what should be. I think he's more experienced. He understands Israel. And he understands the arena a little bit better. He's not running to make peace with the Iranians. They came out in favor of us in the ICC, scandalous decision last week. And so I think, first of all, that the Biden administration does not have those kind of false, visions or dreams that the Obama administration had. So that's one thing. The second thing is, I hate to break it to everybody, but this has got its own legs now. It's got its own momentum. We've got now 4 Abraham Accords countries. I reckon Oman and Saudi Arabia around the corner, and that's going to be, especially Saudi Arabia, deeply significant. We're talking about 2 kingdoms where the young generation is taking over from the older generation, and they're Western educated. They have Jewish friends. They understand Israel, the startup nation, can only, be a fantastic partner, and we have common security defense threats, and that is Iran. And so the way I see it is, if the Americans run towards a peace treaty with Iran, that's going to push Saudi Arabia right into our arms. And if they don't, even better. We can continue building the region, building these partnerships, and extending the members of this wonderful Abraham Accords initiative.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope that's right. Because there could be, some people may worry that there could be a cooling, depending on how powers line up. But I think I agree with you. Let's get to the last part, which is the question of, you mentioned Netanyahu. Netanyahu is looking sprightly, and he's back out there in the field doing Zooms, doing his videos. But the coalition that should be formed, could be formed, is not exactly. It's not coming forward perfectly yet, at least according to polls. And we are not. People who are experienced in politics know that polls are often a kind of false religion, a kind of idolatry. That they don't really tell you the truth. But
you know what Shimon Peres used to say? He used to say that polls are like perfume: smell, but sniff, but don't swallow.
That's right. That's right. And he was master of those quips.
Yes.
But how do you see the political map shaping up in our system, which is a coalition system of many different parties? How do you see it? Do you see a classic coalition of Netanyahu, the ultra-Orthodox, the National Religious Party, and maybe Bennett? Do you see that kind of forming again, or do you see maybe power swinging to a new kind of coalition with Bennett, Saar, Lapid, that whole side of the equation?
Well, I think, look, anything could happen, and we really don't know yet, because maybe even with Yamina, Bibi won't be able to form a coalition. We don't know yet. Of course, I'm a Likud member, and I'm very much actively campaigning for the Likud to win as many seats as possible. I think we have a system that needs to be revisited, because it's really incredible that small parties can have so much power, disproportionate power, the power of bringing down governments and forming governments. So I'm a European. I believe in a parliamentary system that has a winner and a loser, and that's that. Like America. So I really don't know what's going to happen, but what's very clear, Yishai, is that a good majority of this country is right-leaning. That's what's clear. And so what I'm hoping is that we end up forming a right-leaning government that its ideology is not about no Bibi, yes Bibi. It's about what's right for our country, to strengthen our country, to strengthen our economy. I'm a liberal in terms of economic values. That's why I'm in the Likud. We have to break bureaucracy. We have to deregulate. We have to open markets. These are important things for the continued growth of our country. And these are the things that only the right wing really, certainly the Likud, is offering. And I hope that we have a nice right wing coalition, the way we should have had 2 years ago when Lieberman decided that his hatred for Bibi was stronger than his right wing ideology.
By the way, you mentioned yourself being a European and also Sephardi Jew. Like, I'm also a Russian Jew. My parents are Russian Jews. And the Lieberman taking away of the Russian vote, the nationalist right-wing Russian vote, and turning them into anti-Bibi votes and anti-ultra-Orthodox votes, I think that is a great theft. I think he's done a great disservice, really lied to people and told them
he lied to people. He said he would support Bibi, and then he went against. And we're in this mess because of him. And,
That's right.
And again, it's personal. I'm saying to everybody, just put your personal aside for a second and think about what your ideology is and where you come from. That's the bottom line, where you want to see your country. Where's the vision? I want to see the vision of these people, not just, we hate Bibi because he did this to me and he did that to me. That's not what it's about. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the collective and it's about your people. And that's what I want everybody to get over.
Fleur, thank you so much for joining us. You are the Deputy Mayor. Fleur Hassan Nachum, you are the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. You're also the co-founder of the UAE Israel Business Council. And you're at the Likud. And you have the great merit of being part of Yerushalayim. You're a Kodesh reborn in our time, and really bringing a vision of King David of 3,000 years ago, of Abraham, into our lives, into the lives of millions of people around the world who see Jerusalem as a spiritual capital, and also a great capital of the great state of Israel. You have a great job, and keep up your good work. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Kol Tuv. All right, folks, you are listening to the Yishai Fleisher Show, and so fun to have Fleur Hassan with us, and so fun to have you with us. So write me an email, yishai@yishaifleisher.com, and if you want to talk with the Fleur, if you want to send her an email, send me an email and I'll forward it to her. No problem. It'll be just that easy. You can communicate with the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. And it's such a schut, such a merit to be alive in this time where we have a Jewish state reborn in this land. And the state of Israel could be understood, like Jerusalem is also a name for all of Israel, right? Like any capital is a name for that country, like Washington is like America. But Jerusalem, the fact that it's reborn in our time, means that there's a Jerusalem in this world. There's a capital of spirituality that everybody could turn their face towards. And that is one of the most exciting things in the world. Like and I have some friends who got me so turned on to loving Yerushalayim. And let's kind of concentrate for a second about the things that we could love so much. We can love so much the Torah. We could love so much God. We could love the land of Israel. We could love the forefathers and mothers. And we could love Yerushalayim. My friend says it's all about Yerushalayim. My friend Meir Eisenman taught me that it's really all about Yerushalayim and all about having the passion for rebuilding the city. And I have so many friends who are involved in just the rebuilding of just that city, but through the rebuilding of Jerusalem, you rebuild the whole thing. The whole thing gets stronger, and God is giving us strength to give Him an abode in this world. That means that God has decided something amazing, and we're a part of it. So I want you to write me an email and with the hashtag Jerusalem ! With a picture of Jerusalem, with a drawing of Jerusalem, and tell me how Jerusalem is in your life. So right now, Johan Bijou George says, I hope to visit the City of Peace one day. That is a good one. City of Peace is a good name, but my favorite is Ir HaNetzach. You're right, it's called also City of Peace, but I like Ir HaNetzach, the eternal city, Yerushalayim, the eternal city. What an awesome schut it is to be broadcasting to you and to get strength from God to send out this message to the world. More great stuff is on the way. Tune into our podcast as well. We're going to have Malka Fleisher and more great stuff, and also all of our sponsors, all of our friends that make the show strong, free, spread out to the world, and broadcasted here from the Holy Land. God bless you wherever you are. Shalom.